Okay guys, check this out. Today we've got a gorgeous turquoise 2018 Subaru Impreza. We got the factory stereo system in, and the customer wants a little more bass. So of course we can do that. So we're installing a MEMPHIS street reference system with a 500 watt amp. Along with that 500 watt amp, we have a 12-inch subwoofer inside a single ported box. That's going to fit perfectly inside this trunk and definitely give her the sound she needs. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is run the power wire. So we looked outside, we found a boot. So we come inside to make sure it's clear. We found the boot. We have our car antenna tool that we use. We pushed it through, make sure missing any wires on the inside. And we have it on the outside, clear of any wiring harnesses. So we just use an old car antenna, shave it down to a point. We'll tape our wire on there. We'll pull it through into the car, making sure we have enough to hook up to the battery. All right, we got our 4-gauge ready. We have it taped around our antenna. We're using 4-gauge just in case the customer decides to upgrade. They are ready. So we're then going to go inside the car. So then we slowly pull on our antenna and pull the wire through. And we'll continue pulling it through until we have enough to run all the way to the trunk. For the remote wire, we just put a remote start in this thing. So we just hooked up to the accessory wire in the steering column at the ignition plug. So we'll run the amp turn on back, and we mounted the bass knob right in the center console. So we ran the remote wire down the factory trough over behind the fuse box. We have it down in the door sill inside all the factory clamps running back to the car. Everything up front should be done, so we can put this back together and move on to the rear. Alright, for signal we took the rear door panel off. We found out we have a white and a red wire. We do not have a white and a red wire inside the car, because up here when it changes, the white and the red changes to a blue and a white. Blue and a white we do have inside the car, so we'll hook our signal up to the blue and white signal wires. Okay, we took the bottom of the back seat out, found a seat support bracket, removed the bolt, we ground down all the paint so we have a good ground. We also took the bolt for our wire wheel, ground that down, so now we have a good place to put our ground. So we have our signal harness. I got my positive wire. I know in the harness it's a blue wire that's positive because we traced it back through the door. So we're going to use what's called a military splice. We strip back some wire on both sides, we make a little loop, and then we thread it in like a needle. Wrap it around, put some tape on it, and it's the strongest connection as you can get. Alright, so we got the amplifier all wired up in this Subaru, single 12-inch box. We got that wired up, fits perfectly in the trunk. So we hooked it up, we turned it on, and I wasn't exactly satisfied with the sound. These Subaru radios are notorious for cutting off the bass once you get about a third of the way up. It goes to 40, once you get past 20, the bass is just non-existent. So if you're feeding non-existent bass into an amp, you're going to get non-existent sound. So what we did, we had this MEMPHIS bass enhancer. It's a digital bass restoration module, and it's a line output converter as well as a line driver. So I convinced the customer to let me try that in her car. So we installed that. What you do is you turn the radio up about 3/4 of the way. You keep the bass knob in the middle, and you turn up the bass restoration knob, which is on the other side, until your bass comes back. And then you set your gains from there. And that opened this car wide open. This thing sounds phenomenal now. It sounds like there's two 12s in the back. So here's the specs on it. 2-channel line output converter with digital bass restoration. Designed to work with most factory systems because you can take high level into it, converts it to RCAs. 2 active speaker level inputs up to 400 watts. It has full range outputs and subwoofer outputs. So if you're running a 2-channel amp for your highs and a 2-channel amp for your bass, you're all set. It has the variable bass restoration expansion. I will show you that knob on the side. And signal sense turn on, which means you don't need to find an ignition wire to turn on your system. This will sense the speaker level coming in and it'll provide a remote turn on for your system. On this side we have 2 connectors. One is for your high level in and the other one is for your power. It has a remote in and a remote out, so if you don't have a remote in, it'll produce a remote out. But we actually got an ignition sense, and it has another bass knob, but we're going to use the bass knob that's built into the amp. On this side we have the main RCA out and the subwoofer RCA out, and right there is the secret bass enhancement knob. That is what provides all the magic, and then you just have the gains on the top. On this side, the amplifier does allow 4 gauge to be inserted, so we put 4 gauge power, 4 gauge ground. We got our speaker wires. We got everything tested, taped up, connected to our subwoofer. We're going to turn this thing on, get the customer's reaction. All right, we got the system powered up. You can see the amplifier's powered up because they got that long red LED, and the bass restoration module got the green LED. So we're going to go ahead, get the customer's reaction, turn this thing on, and see if she thinks it makes a difference.
Whoa! There is no way that is the same system. You're telling me that's 112?
That is 112.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
There you have it.
I am happy.
The bass restoration module is a success. You can buy it in our shop below. So don't forget, from wires to wraps, we've got you covered. 21st Century Sound.